So let's talk real income and what actually changes your numbers. Okay, so no hype, no fake screenshots. I'll break down what beginners can expect and how to increase income faster. All right. And now, first, let's talk about what you get paid for as a loan signing agent. So, what the whole fee, whether it's 50, 65, 75, 90, $100, includes is printing, scan backs, distance and travel, and the complexity and the time. Okay. What complexity means is basically detail oriented. Make sure that they're dating correctly and that all the documents are in order and correct. Okay. So that is what the base fee requires, all of that. So some people would argue and say, well, notaries should get paid more because they should pay extra for travel. Sometimes they do accept an extra travel fee if the appointment is further than what your area. Let's say if the appointment is an hour away. By the time you accept the signing, they sent the request. Are you available this date, this time for this fee? Let's say $75. Okay. And you look at the zip code and you're like, but wait a minute, that's an hour away from me. So this is what I do. In order for me to drive an extra distance because it's far, I would counter offer, but you have to do it at the moment of accepting. So there's some buttons you can press that says no counter offer. $25 more, let's say, on top of the fee that they're offering you. Sometimes they approve it, sometimes they don't. It all depends on you. But I would argue whatever you accept, it includes everything, okay? The driving, the signing time, the scanning, and the dropping off of the documents. It's all right. That's why we get paid that much per hour, okay? And beginner reality, okay? So this is the reality the first 30 to 60 days. Now, it all depends on what area you live in. You might live in an area that's booming and it's very busy for real estate. So you will be getting a lot of signing requests. Now, if you live in a rural area, it's going to be a little more difficult. Okay. So I would argue it depends on the area that you live in, and that's how busy you will be. Okay. But as a beginner, your first 30 to 60 days might be a little slow because you're getting your feet wet. All right. You're probably only signing up for a couple of signing services instead of a lot. Okay. Now, inconsistent volume is going to give you inconsistent income, which is a fact. Okay. If you break down your numbers from the beginning, okay, I'm starting this part-time, to which I always recommend. You're going to say, okay, I want to do minimum 10 appointments a week after work, meaning that's 2 after work. Let's add the weekend. So let's say you might get 1 and you might not get 2, but you're going to fill in the gap on the weekend because you're open to signings on the weekend, which I would recommend. If you want to learn a new skill and you want to start making money, I would make myself more flexible and accessible on the weekends. Even though weekends are going to be slower, you're not going to be as busy on the weekend as in the weekdays. All right. That's my personal opinion. So I would add up, okay, I want to make this much and have a goal. Okay. So if you are going to be inconsistent volume, you're going to have an inconsistent paycheck. That's how it is. So the learning curve is, if you want more volume, okay, you have to start applying for more signing services. All right. Now, if you're working a 9 to 5, it's going to be extremely hard for you to market to title companies. It is doable. You can tell them off the bat, I have a full-time job. I am only available on the evenings. I'm available. If you need me, I'm here to drive outside of the office to your clients. and do the signing, the closing. They might prefer and, be happy that you were honest with them. I recommend that if you're not leaving your full-time job yet, for you to be honest with the title companies if you want to go that route and let them know that you're doing it part-time. If you want to work your way around that, you could do it during your lunch break. And I don't recommend that either. That's only if you get an hour lunch break, to which I don't know if you could squeeze in a closing and an hour lunch break, but I've heard of notaries doing it. So there's nothing impossible, guys. It all depends on, your situation. Everyone's situation is different. But nonetheless, so that is the learning curve for marketing to title companies if you have a job. I don't, recommend it. And if you do, like I said, be honest with them and tell them that you can do it in the evenings, okay, but not during the day. Now, signing services are different. They're way more flexible, okay? There's a lot more volume, and I recommend you start off with signing services. The whole point is that you start building trust, okay? And how do you build relationships is you build trust by doing great work, by communication. Oh my God, number one. I have gotten 5-star reviews, and I'm so grateful for it, is because I communicate every single thing. I try my best to communicate everything. If there's an issue, I communicate with the signing service. If the title company contacts me, I respond. You have to respond and reply as quickly as possible to all parties. Okay. So that they see that, trust me when I tell you, and they give you more work and they will honor you for it and they will pay you more money. Okay. You got to become like A1 loan signing agent. Now, part-time, as I was telling you guys, is 5 to 10 signings per week. Okay. And you could do this around your full-time job. And I totally started this way. And this is what I recommend. All right. To get your feet wet. And what that looks like monthly. So you have to look at your calendar. You got to choose. Thank God this is flexible because you can pick the signings that you want to do. So let's say you work a 9 to 5, you get home at 6, you start calculating, okay, I get home at 6, whatever, I have dinner. So I could do a 7 o'clock appointment or a 6 o'clock appointment, or my latest is 8. I work. My last appointment is at 8 o'clock because I do this full time. And you start, figuring out your own schedule and how many signings you need a week to make the money that you want to make. And in the last video, I calculated that. And I'll do that here too. Let me find my calculator. So what 10 appointments gives you? Let's round it off, okay? Because you're going to have purchase, refi, seller documents, home equity lines of credits, which are also known as HELOCs, and loan modifications. Okay. They all pay different. A good signing service will pay you $100 for a purchase. Loan documents, that's 150 to 200 pages. The same for refinance for 150 to 200 pages. Seller documents are about 30 pages, less than 50, very small package. A good signing service will pay you $75 for that. A home equity line of credit, it all depends. If it's a hybrid, it's usually less than 100 pages. They could pay you $65, $75 for that HELOC. Loan modifications, $65. A good signing service. Those are the highest fees, okay? So we're going to round them all up, all right? And let's say $75 per signing times 10. That's your goal, part-time. You want to do 10 signings in a week, and that's including the weekend because we do have signings on the weekend. That is $750 extra a week. You multiply that by 4, that gives you $3,000 part-time. Now, we're going to divide that by 2 just for kicks and giggles, just in case you do less than 10 in a week. That's still over $1,000 extra that you will be bringing home aside from your household income from your 9 to 5. That's great money if you ask me, okay? And it's easy, all right? You confirm the appointment, print documents, drive to the appointment, have them sign these papers, scan them, and ship them. That's our job, okay? In a nutshell, all right? And you have to be detail oriented, obviously. So you calculate your month part-time, all right? Now, it is extremely possible, yes, if you're a full-time loan signing agent like myself, that you can make $5,000 to $10,000 or more. Now, usually the ones that are in the $10,000 range, they're loan signing agents that have signing services, okay? Meaning that they have their own signing service business. So basically they hire notaries, okay, to do signings, and they make a portion out of that. So let's say a title company pays me $200 for a signing, right? I'm a signing service owner. So I send out a massive text message as we receive to a bunch of notaries in a zip code in an area, and she accepts it. I get a portion of that because I got the business for her. I'm basically giving her work that she did not have to market for, and I make a portion of that. So I'm paying that notary $100, but I am the signing service. I am making $100 profit, okay? Now that number might vary, depending on title companies. They all pay different. I'm giving you guys an example. You could make $50 profit as a signing service up to $100 profit or more, okay, which is great. And you didn't have to go to that signing. You didn't have to print the document. All you had to do was send out a mass text message or email to a bunch of notaries. One of them picks it, and you make a profit out of that. All right. So that's how most loan signing agents make it to the 10,000 range or more, because I know of signing services that make more than that. It depends how big they are, if they're nationwide, and how many notaries they have working under them and their roster. Okay. So it's great money. You could definitely scale this business, to which that is in my plan too, that by the end of the year, I'm declaring it that I will have my own signing service nationwide. All right. What that looks like monthly. So I already showed you guys. I told you could make anywhere between $1,500 to $3,000. It all depends on how many signings per week you do. Okay. It all depends on you. Now, full-time scenarios. We spoke about that. Consistency and referrals and repeat clients. How I made it when I decided to go full-time was because I started marketing to title companies very quickly. Like within a couple of weeks of becoming a loan signing agent, I started marketing to title companies, and they were calling me, and I was shocked and I was scared, but I did it, guys. And I built relationships with a lot of them, and I made great money. All right. And to this day, I have relationship with some of these signing services, and I'm super grateful for them. But we have to continue to market, whether it's physically or digitally, meaning by email. All right. All of this on your income, it depends on how much work you put in. All right. So if you want to make more money as a full-time loan signing agent, you have to mark. All right. You could either, you mark, or you start signing up for all these different signing services online, or different platforms where you could enter your credentials and you receive more work. And another option, which is great, to which I'm going to start to, is to do the RON, remote online notary, which is less driving. And that's another income stream. There's so many different income. Guys, I'm also a wedding officiant. All right. I charge $350 per wedding to marry somebody. Super easy. And all we have to do is read a script. You are responsible for verifying their license. We do the same thing that notaries do. We verify their license that's on the marriage certificate. Like there's, a mini training you do online to be ordained. There's just so many different income streams when you're a notary that you guys will be mind blown. If you Google it or chat GPT it, you'll see how much money you could make as a loan signing agent. This is not the only thing you can do. You could do printing. You can do field work, take pictures of, cars, VIN numbers, verify IDs. You could be what do they call it? A person that drops off legal documents by door. I forgot the name at the top of my head. But anyways, there's so many different things you can do to make income, guys. Like, it's endless, okay? There's no reason why you should be a loan signing agent and you're broke. Like, there's no reason. So you have to, become skillful, become more professional, and get better at your craft. And that's how you get repeat work. What increases income in 2026? Being fast and accurate. That is a good one. So again, in the beginning, obviously, you're going to be slower. It took me 2 hours to finish a refinance. Yes, it was crazy. I was nervous, I was scared, and I had the sticky tabbies. It was so funny. I still missed a signature, an initial. It was my first time. We're human. It happens. You get better. You get over the first one and you do the second one and you do the third one. And by the time you do like the 10th or the 12th one, you're a pro. I'm just kidding, guys. But the more you do them, all right, my point being, you get quicker. Okay, you become more knowledgeable of the documents and you're going to have your own system on how you present these documents to these signers, and you're going to work more efficiently and quicker. You're going to find your own lingo on how you do your own thing. Communication scripts. I think I talked about this too. When I am confirming the appointments, I send them a text. A very detailed text, like of you need verifying the date, the time, the address, and making sure all signers are present, making sure they have 2 valid IDs, things like that, and I'm communicating with them how long the appointment is going to take depending on the document. All right, reliability. You got to be reliable. When you say you're going to be somewhere at a certain time, be there at that time. Leave an hour early. Depending on traffic, you should know your area. If you're running late, because it happens, and it happens to me, I make sure that I call them or text them and let them know, hey, I'm running late. This is my new ETA. And always apologize for the inconvenience, because it is inconvenient. When someone has a set time, it's for a reason. Maybe they're doing it before, after work, during lunch. Everyone has their own different scenario. So you have to make sure that you're respectful of everyone's time, including your own time. Okay? Expanding services area wisely. This is another thing. Me personally, everything in Orlando is spreaded out. Nothing is close, unfortunately. But I have to have a backup. That's why I'm adding RON, Remote Online Notary. Okay? There's a bunch of remote online notary platforms you could sign up for. Everyone's area is different. This is my area in Orlando. This is my experience. Your experience where you live will probably more than likely be different, okay? And you just have to do what works for you. So, yeah, and then you have to determine, okay, is this worth me driving an hour? Is this pay rate worth it? You have to calculate it. Is it worth it? Is it worth the wear and tear in your car, in your tires, in your time? Is it worth it? So you have to calculate that. And then stacking add-ons ethically. I talked about this, I think, in the previous video. Depending on how far I drive, if it's an hour, sometimes I will counter offer for them to pay me $25 more, give or take or so, for the extra travel time. Sometimes they approve it, other times they don't. What you do not want to do is accept the fee that they're offering you and then counter offer. They don't like that. I've done that before and they get very upset. Okay? They prefer you to decline it and counter offer. I'm declining, but I'm countering offering for $25 extra, because you always have to give them a reason why. Sometimes they have the options there for you to pick, and you put because it's too far, the pay is too low, I'm not available at that time, I'm sick, other, etc. All right? You have to be very specific. But I would try to counter offer when you're accepting the signing so they won't give you any pushback. What kills income? Missed scan backs. If you miss scanning documents, this could greatly affect the funding process. Let's say this is a purchase signing, and that very same day, they need those scan backs, obviously, to approve the funding for them to actually buy their home. If you don't send them scan backs and you ship the documents without scanning, that is a huge red flag from their end, and they will not hire you again. Yeah. So read the special instructions in the platform when you accept the signing. Always take your time and read it, because a lot of times they have you doing things like initial certain pages, review this, sign that. You never know. They always have specific instructions. For the most part, they don't. They just want you to scan the documents, whatever. But you have to get into the habit of reading the special instructions and you follow them thoroughly, because if you do not, that's going to be a flag, a red flag marked against you. And believe me when I tell you, they will remember, they will mark it. And you will, if you do it more than once, maybe one time, they'll forgive, but they won't use you again. They'll just remove you from their roster and you won't receive any signing request from that signing service. You gotta be very careful. Late drop-offs. They do not like this. It all depends on what time the signing is, obviously. If the signing is at 4:00, you finish an hour later. In my case, I'm giving you an example. The cutoff time to drop off these documents to ship is before 5. I'm not gonna make it to the FedEx for FedEx to ship the documents because my appointment was at 4 and it finished at 5. Obviously, it makes sense, right? So if they come at you and they're asking you, why weren't these documents shipped that day? You tell them, I had a 4:00 appointment. It finished at 5. And before 5:00 was the cutoff time. And that's why these documents did not ship. That is a reasonable, obviously a good excuse as to why they did not ship. Okay? You have to try your best, unless obviously you have a late appointment and it's not going to make it to. So in that case that it does not make it that day, early in the morning, you have to make it a priority to ship the documents in the morning so they're already good to go for the next day. Okay? Sloppy professionalism. The way you turn in the documents. A lot of these title companies, they do not like the documents to be out of order. The same order that you're printing the documents in, that's how they want them shipped, okay? Because it's going to take them time to rearrange all the documents for them to go through them. And they don't like that. That's very important. So that to them is sloppy. That's not being professional. Canceling at the last minute. I understand we're human. We're parents. I'm a mom. I'm a single mom at that. I might have an emergency. Rarely can I tell you that I have canceled my appointments, unless obviously you're in an accident, a car breaks down, your child is sick, an emergency, you have to pick them up from school, they have a fever. In my case, The only time that I can remember I canceled appointments that were scheduled the next day was when my father passed away. That's when I called the signing services and the person that hired me, and I told them, I'm not able to make these appointments. I apologize. My father passed away. That's understandable, obvious. Okay. So it's only emergency situations. Another thing that can happen, that has happened to me, okay, and I learned my lesson, was I'm going about my day, accepting appointments, and I run out of toner, ink, or I need to replace the drum. That is why it's very important that you have a backup of everything. When you order a toner or a drum, because they do need to be replaced, depending on how busy you are, you need to always have at least one backup, meaning order two, always have one, because it sucks. You're going to cancel, not make money, and then once you order the toner and the drum or whatever, or the paper, you're losing money. You're not making money, okay? So try your best to order these things in bulk, all right? So you can always have a backup. You always have blue pens, you always have paper, you always have toner, and you always have a set of a drum that you can replace from your printer. And for any case scenario, if there's something wrong with your scanner, with your printer, get it fixed ASAP. I mean, I'm a full-time loan signing agent. All of my equipment has to be working. If it's not working, I can't work and I don't get paid. All right. So those are the little things that you need to pay attention to and be on top of. Priority, okay? It happened to me before and I learned my lesson. I ran out of paper and it's a hot mess, guys. It's not a good look, okay? You got to fix that. Canceling at the last minute and not tracking expenses. That's a good one. So you have to, know your pros and your cons. Is this worth me driving the distance? Is this worth me taking that signing? And always having your backup, and manage your expenses. Okay. So that's why I always recommend that everyone starts part-time, so you won't, feel overwhelmed. And the day that you do decide to go full time, I always recommend you save 3 to 6 months, depending on your household, of your income, your monthly expenses. So let's say you have expenses worth $3,000 a month, that you have that saved, 6 months of it saved before you decide to go full time, because you do not want to bring the energy of, I need to pay my rent like next week. I need to put gas in my car. I need to pay for my cell phone bill. That energy is not going to work out. You're going to do things wrong. You're going to be in desperate mode. And trust me when I tell you, they can see and feel your vibe, and it's not a good look, okay? You want to be stress-free when you go on full-time. And what else do we got? I hope you guys are learning a lot. Now, if you want my pricing guidance and beginner strategy, check the resources below, okay? I have all of this. I have the notary supply list, the ebooks, the freebie, everything. I have it linked, okay? And yeah, I think we're pretty much done. Don't forget to check out the next video. Next, I'm going to tell you why I teach this and how to know if I'm the right mentor for you. I mean, obviously, I love to teach. The whole reason why I started this YouTube channel is to coach, and to mentor. Because from the beginning, I've had so many people, guys, even to the signing appointments that I go to, they always ask me, how do I get started? How do I become a loan signing agent? Because they all want to do it part-time. Like 90% of people, no lie, they all ask me. Everyone is looking for that great part-time job. And that's when I decided to, create the LSA Ultimate Guide, the ebook, the step-by-step guide on how to become a loan signing agent, with all the links and resources and information. on there. And because I was taking a lot of time out of my day, to give all that information to a lot of people. And, once you get to a certain point when you're extremely busy, you have to start managing your time better. And that's when I decided to create the ebook. And because I love content, I've been on Instagram since day one. I love posting and I love helping. I decided to start YouTube and expand to the masses. But I hope that you guys learned something. And I pray that you have a blessed, beautiful day. And if you made it this far into the video, comment with a heart, a white heart emoji. Those are my favorite. And I'll catch you on the next one. Check out the next video. Bye.